Welcome back to Mr. White's Social Studies Spot, and today we're going to be covering Section 1 of Unit 8, and today we're going to be discussing the legislative branch of Article 1 in the Constitution. Article 1 lays out the powers of the legislative branch and exactly what are the qualifications and stipulations that it takes to be a United States representative. The U.S. Congress, which is laid out in Article 1, is a bicameral legislature, and we discussed in Unit 7 that bicameral simply means two houses. And the two houses that make up the United States Congress are the Senate, which has 100 members. There are 50 states in the United States, and each state has two senators elected to represent them. And each of the senators are elected to serve for 6 years. Now, the senators are staggered out in the way they are elected, and they have a senatorial election every 2 years. So that means every 2 years, 1/3 of the senators that serve in the United States Senate are reelected or elected for the first time. The House of Representatives has 435 members. Now, way back when we discussed the Constitutional Convention and how the Constitution was going to be written to allow representation for each of the states, there was two plans. There was a plan put forth by the small states that would simply say each state gets one vote, period. Where the larger states didn't think that was quite fair since they had most of the population. And we had to come up with Roger Sherman's great compromise in which we had two houses, one based on population, which is the United States House of Representatives, and then we had one based on strictly 2 votes per state. The House's representatives are elected every 2 years. Every 2 years, everyone in the House is reelected. And they're reapportioned after each census. Now, this simply means that as the population shifts in the United States, say more people move out of Kentucky and into Tennessee, Tennessee might actually gain representatives. Or if people leave California and move to Nevada, Nevada would actually gain seats in the House of Representatives. Remember, Senate is simple, 2 per state. The House of Representatives is simply based on population. How many people do you have in your state? Congressional duties. The main primary duty of the legislative branch of the United States is to make the laws. Make the laws. Representatives of their constituents, they have to make laws that benefit not only the country as a whole, but also have benefit for the state in which they represent. All the powers of Congress are laid out in Article 1. The power to raise and collect taxes, borrow money, regulate commerce, set laws for naturalization, which is a hot button topic in this presidential election, and bankruptcy, to print money, which no other branch of government or state can do, punish counterfeit, run the post office, set up courts, declare war, which is a power that only the House of Representatives have, establish the military and provide money for the military, to punish pirating, to run the District of Washington and all other federal property which our United States government is based. And they also had implied powers, which are powers not specifically listed in the Constitution, but yet they're necessary and proper for the running and administration of the United States. To be specific, the elastic clause is necessary and proper clause that gives Congress the power to make laws, to carry out its delegated duties. And if it's not specifically mentioned in the Constitution, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really mean that the Congress can't do it. They would go ahead and pass this bill and law and say it falls under the elastic clause. It's any law passed to help the necessary function of the government to be carried out. The House of Representatives, like I said, it serves 2-year terms. The qualifications are as follows. The qualifications for representative: you must be 25 years old, not 24. You must at least be 25 years old, be a citizen of the United States of America, and you must be a resident of the state in which you're running for, or your representative state. That means a person in Tennessee cannot run for a representative for the state of Kentucky. You must be a Tennessee resident. Or if you're in Kentucky, you must live in Kentucky to be able to represent people of Kentucky. The number of representatives in Congress, like I said before, is 535. And the leader of the House of Representatives is called the Speaker of the House. He's in charge. His name is Paul Ryan, as you see his picture down here. He is from Wisconsin. He is third in the line of succession in the presidential succession. Mr. Ryan decides on the committees that each member will serve on and decides the orders in which the bills will be heard in the House of Representatives. He has a lot of power. He determines the agenda and what laws get voted on in the House of Representatives. There are special powers of the House of Representatives also. All money, anything dealing with borrowing or spending of money, starts in the House of Representatives. They also select the president in the Electoral College, which is a lesson we will have later, but they are also involved in presidential elections. And also, if a government official is found to be guilty of a crime or impropriety, the House of Representatives can bring up formal charges and write an article of impeachment against this particular individual. And after they write these articles, they send them to the Senate, and the Senate acts as the jury in an impeachment trial. If they are found guilty, they can be removed from office, to include the President of the United States. The last executive that had articles of impeachment written on him was President Bill Clinton. During his presidency, it was sent to the Senate. The Senate failed to get a majority enough to carry out the article of impeachment, and he remained in office. A senator's term is a little more prestigious. It's not a 2-year term, it's a 6-year term. Every 6 years you run for re-election as a senator. The qualifications to be a United States Senator are: you must be at least 30 years old, you must be 9 years a U.S. citizen, and you also, once again, need to be a resident of the represented state. That means if you're going to be a senator from the state of Kentucky, you must live in Kentucky. You cannot live in another state and be a senator from Kentucky. There are 100 U.S. senators, and the head of the senator is U.S. Vice President Joe Biden. The Vice President is always head of the Senate. The power that the Senate has is Joe Biden decides the committee members and the orders in which bills are debated in the Senate. So it's a very influential position within the Senate. Now, actually, currently, right now, the Senate Majority Leader, which is the leader of the party that has the most senators in the Senate right now, is Mitch McConnell from Kentucky. So he has a lot of power also. He helps dictate the agenda of the Senate. The Senate also has some special powers. It approves and ratifies all treaties written by or entered into by the President of the United States. It approves all presidential appointments, executive branch appointments. If they do not agree, the appointments fail, and the person will not assume its position within the federal government. It also chooses the Vice President Electoral College. Tie goes to the Senate, and acts as a jury in all trials of impeachment. Remember, I discussed President Clinton's impeachment trial, in which he was found not guilty and not impeached by the Senate. They are the jury. Privileges and compensation of Congress members. The actual annual salary for a United States House of Representatives is $193,000 per year. They have full medical and benefits provided by the federal government, free office, parking, and trips to the homestead that are all paid for by the United States government. So when a representative or senator leaves Washington and goes back to their resident state, the United States government pays for their travel. They also have a franking privilege, which means they can mail letters and mailings to their constituents of their state free of charge. That means they don't have to pay for postage. They also have immunity or legal protection. They cannot be sued for anything they say or write while carrying out their duties as a representative or senator. They cannot be arrested for minor offenses while Congress is in session. You have to wait till session is out. When I say minor offenses, that means not paying traffic tickets or stuff like that, not major crimes such as murder or robbery or something like that. They cannot hold any other political office at the same time that they're a congressman or a senator. Who are your Kentucky senators? Well, the person on the left is Rand Paul. He is a senator that was, he's the son of a former senator. He just got in running for president of the United States. He bowed out of the race, but he's a very influential politician from the state of Kentucky. And once again, here's Mitch McConnell, this Senate Majority Leader, which he carries a lot of clout in the Senate. One of the things I want to discuss with you now is, how does a bill, that means legislation, how does it start from a piece of paper or an idea by a congressman or a senator and make it all the way through the process to become an actual law in the United States? What I want you to do after this video, I want you to come back and I want you to click on this link here, and it actually goes step by step on how a bill becomes a law. First, steps of a bill. A member of Congress introduces a bill. Okay, it's not a law. It's just an idea written down or typed out. The bill goes to a committee that is a smaller group of representatives or senators in which discuss the pros and cons of the bill. The bill is debated either by the House or Senate after it leaves committee. Some bills never make it out of committee. They just can't agree that it will be a beneficial law for the United States, and it just dies there in committee. It never goes for a vote. But if it does, if a bill is passed, it goes to the other chamber. That means the House of Representatives debates a bill in committee, and it goes to the House, and it is passed. Then it is given to the Senate for them to vote on. Both houses of Congress must pass the bill for it to become law. After a bill has been voted on by both chambers, if it is approved by both the Senate and the House, it is sent to the President of the United States. This is where it becomes important. If he signs this bill, it becomes law. If he does not want to sign it, he can just simply veto the bill or reject the bill, and it goes back to the Congress. They can either make a few suggestions or go on the president's suggestions and change the bill and send it back to him, in which he may sign it then. Or there might be certain parts of that bill in which the president doesn't agree with, and he'll draw a line through it. It's called a line item veto. I like all of this except for this one part, and I'm drawing a line through it. Change this one part, and then I'll sign it. The bill is sent back to the president, who can either approve it and it becomes law, or he can veto it. If the Congress feels strongly about a bill, 2/3 of both houses, Senate and House of Representatives, can vote on this bill and override a presidential veto. So the veto is a check that the executive branch, the president, has over Congress when it comes to passing laws. But if they can get 2/3 majority vote on both House and Senate, they can override a presidential veto, which is a check back over the executive branch. Unit 8, Section 1 just basically covers the legislative branch in small detail. We're going to do a couple other activities in which we're going to really discuss the legislative branch in depth. I just want you to get the qualifications and some of the basic outline principles of the legislative branch. And I hope this presentation helps you to do so. See you in Unit 8, Section 2.